Hello, everyone. I'm Davy Jags, and this is Sparkle On. Sparkle is your happiness, passion, and self worth, and is found through the power of creativity. Today, I am so excited to have my dear friend, Marie France, who is a visionary and costume designer, widely known in the industry for her designs with Prince, the music icon for Purple Rain, Under the Cherry Moon. She's also worked with Tina Turner, Rod Stewart, and also behind some amazing movies like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Encino Man, and also the cult classic TV show 90210.
Someone I'm standing and I'm shouting out. It started as a spark.
Thank you so much,
Just
Marie.
a pilot on that.
Just the pilot on 90210.
Yeah.
But still, it's the pilot of a very famous show.
Yeah.
That is so exciting. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm really excited to be here and talking to you like we were in our own living room.
I know we've been friends for years, going to the movies together, and you've exposed me to so many amazing movies that I wouldn't normally have seen without you. But today, I'm really excited to just highlight your really successful career in costume design because it's such an important part of telling other artists' stories. So I want to start where, like, that first moment you saw Prince and what you had to do to convince him to take you on as a designer and be part of this thing that will go down in history, or has gone down in history.
Well, actually, I was asked to come and work on the Purple Rain, but just as a head costumer for women, not as a costume designer. Prince had already his two tailors who were already there, who were his costume designers, but we were not used to doing films at all. And when I got there and I was introduced to them and went to the studio, which was an in-house affair, I realized they had not prepared a lot for the film, and I was really concerned. So I told the director, Al Magnoli, that I was really concerned that he was, I thought he was in trouble, that he would never get to be ready for the shoot, which was like 2 or 3 weeks from then, from the time I got to Minneapolis.
Wow.
So Al asked me if I had some ideas. I told him about some ideas I had for the Prince and the other characters in the film. And he said, oh, I like those ideas. I had also some magazines, especially French magazine like Elle, that I had brought just as references and things, just in case things were needed for, even the background or something.
Right.
So I had, I showed him like in the magazine things that I thought would work for the film. And he said, well, I want you to meet the Prince, And I was really excited.
Yeah.
So I went back to the studio and told his designers, tailors, that the director wanted me to meet Prince. And I guess they did not like the idea so well. And as I said, it was, they were not happy about the situation. And they said, well, are you prepared with sketches? Do you have everything ready? I said, no, I just want to talk to him first and get some idea what he's thinking about. And I tell him what I think about. And they told me, they say, he will never meet with you. Okay. So I was like a little shocked by it, that they would be sure he would never meet with me. And so I went to the director. I said, his tailor said he won't meet me because the director said, I'm the director here. If I say he's going to meet with you, he's going to meet with you. And I actually already have a meeting arranged for, I don't know, next morning or another day, like soon afterwards the morning. So I thought, okay, great, And actually I did not prepare more than that. Okay. Because my experience before is that you talk to the directors, you talk to the actors, and you might present some ideas, but it's not definite at that point. You just have a preliminary, encounter where you might decide which direction to go. And so the day off, I go to the director's office where we were going to meet, and Prince came with Jill Jones, who plays the waitress in Purple Rain, and was one of his girlfriends. And so she sits down, the director sits down, I'm sitting also around the desk, and Prince went right to the window. He had these mirrored glasses on that we see in Purple Rain that he already was wearing, and turned his back and look out the window. So I'm waiting to start speaking until he sits down, but the director gave me a sign to not worry about it and just start speaking anyway, So I start speaking, and the first thing which came to my mind, it's just, nothing that I had rehearsed or anything, but I just said, I'm here to do a great film, not like a shitty film, like the Elvis Presley film. Oh my God, he turned around and he came to sit down.
That's amazing.
I mean, I guess people don't speak to stars like that, but I always speak my mind,
Yes.
Might not have always served me right in this industry because, but anyway, he sat down. So he said, something like, Al told me that you had some ideas, so what are your ideas? So I started showing him, the cutouts from the magazine that I had discussed already with the director. And at some point he said, exactly in the way what the tailor had warned me about, he said, do you have any sketches? And I said, no, I wanted to talk. I told him, I wanted to talk to you first, He said, well, I would like to see something. So the director gives me a page, a white, piece of paper.
Right there and then.
Right there and then, and a pen. And Prince said, well, go ahead, show me something. And it's like, so I talked aloud what was going through my mind at that point because I had no idea what I was going to design. And I said, well, your name is Prince, so I see something really regal and romantic and, beautiful. And, I'm thinking Versailles, the kings, the court. And then I suddenly thought I had seen some of his previous music videos, and he was wearing tuxedo shirt, which had little ruffle on the side, which what you rent for a cheap wedding.
Right.
And I said to him, I said, sometimes you wear that, I've seen you wear in the video the tuxedo shirt with a little ruffle. I said, no, that's not grand enough. That's really for a provincial wedding. And that's when I thought, and I designed right there and then, the ruffled shirt.
Wow.
But it's like I walked that process,
You walked
aloud.
through it with, yes.
Yeah, I talked myself through
Well,
until I
sometimes that's how you have
got
to do
to
it.
something.
Yes, I think that happens in my process as well. Like, is sometimes I just need to talk through it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I talk through it, like, a deadline's coming up or it's right there. And then it's like the idea of how it's supposed to be comes out. But what in your situation where the pressure's really on is you have this legend music icon right in front of you, and you're trying to land the gig. And so
I did not even know that I was looking for, I just was concerned that they had not enough things ready to shoot.
Yes.
I was not even thinking further at that point, And then he said, well, do you have something for Apollonia? So I got a new piece of paper from the director. And that was a lot easier because
Right.
Apollonia was a lot like I dress very kind of rock and roll.
Uh-huh.
So that came, and I drew the top at that time that she wears when, I think it's when she's with Morris Day at Second Avenue. And it's a top which is like one shoulder on, one shoulder off,
Right.
black. And to me, that was not, I could have gone on and do a whole, wardrobe right there almost,
Okay.
Where Prince, I mean, it was like I really was waiting to, get feedback from him, before I would start,
Right.
something. And, but also from showing the pictures from the magazine, he really liked. There was a model wearing like a lace kind of bandeau, but it was partly on the eye or something, and that he really liked that. So that came and was something that I created then for Purple Rain, that lace,
Yes.
mask,
And
and lace also, which he never wore before. And I started having him wear a lot of lace,
right. And I saw that, and so what I find so interesting is, what is that process like, whether it's specifically with Prince or other artists that you've worked with, where they might not have put themselves in a certain material or a certain color until they've met you. How do you maintain that balance of someone that's still going to be like pushing their comfort zone, but then also confident and excited to wear something new?
Well, the color was easy for him because it was Purple Rain.
Right.
So purple was definitely the color for him. Also, there was some black for certain scene which were more dramatic, and the white shirt when it's more romantic.
Right.
So those were, and every character in Purple Rain really had a palette. I saw Apollonia, who is pretty bold, in black and red. That was a color palette, basically.
How do you determine a character's color palette?
Well, what correspond to the character. Like I thought she was kind of strong, and she was very ambitious and determined. So red is a very powerful color.
Yeah.
Compared to Jill, who is a waitress, who was more a character who was really in love with Prince, but much more sweet. So with her, I went for pastels.
Right.
And also, she's not very rich, and I saw her more of a vintage girl, Jill. So, like, her dresses were inspired, even though they were made in the studio, they were inspired by 50s dresses you could have found in a thrift shop or vintage store, like, in tulle, that you would wear to a graduation or something.
Right.
So that was where definitely Apollonia was much more rock and roll. There was like the not real leather, but little black pants and jacket.
Right.
And on purpose, I did not want to make it leather. It was more because she would not have had the money to buy leather.
Okay.
It was more like she would have gone to Contempo or, that kind of store that they
Right.
were in the mall and got it on sale or something,
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely, the red for me was right away. I knew she would wear red.
Right. And then what is the process of that approval process, right? Because like if you have a certain vision for a character, but the director doesn't like it. How is there this meeting of the minds and the collaboration? And was there ever times where even your creative process clashed with Prince himself? And how did you work through that?
Uh, After that first meeting, I really could feel from Prince what he liked,
Okay.
you know. So afterwards, it was, pretty easy actually from that on. And I do think that, so after I did the sketch for Apollonia, the director said, thank you very much. And, he said, you can go, so I left. And obviously, after he got back to me to tell me I should start designing thing, it was because Prince approved it.
Right.
I mean, there was no question in my mind that, and I think the shirt sold me.
Yeah. And so could you
I-
tell
I-
he
that
liked it right there and then? Could you tell that?
Oh, yeah. You could feel, not maybe exuberant, but it's more like, yeah, I mean, because he would have said, I think, after the shirt, if he did not like it, he might have said, you have something else.
Right.
And no, he went, do you have something also for Apollonia? So it was like,
He was already at next step, like in
Yeah.
the process.
yeah.
And that shirt actually was just at the Met as part of an exhibit. It was called Superfine, tailoring Black style. And
I
so
saw it. I went there
I
last
remember
year.
you telling me, and like
I have a picture with it.
Yes.
And actually, it's a funny kind of anecdote is that they did not put my name on the...
atrocious, absolutely atrocious. But you
And-
went and fought for it, or your friends fought for
Well,
it.
no, my friend, because I did not even know the shirt was in the air, And a friend of mine happened to be in New York, goes to the show in like June. I think it started in May or something like that. She goes there and she said, your shirt is there, but your name is not. And
Oh
I
my
went,
goodness.
What? I didn't, well, obviously I did not know, anything.
Right.
So I thought, well, I really don't like that.
Yes.
I'm going to try to do something about it. But, how do you contact the Met? I mean, it's not the number that you get or, the contact email where they're going to answer you or something. So I remembered, I Googled and found out for the costume, they often bring people from the outside.
Gotcha.
The costume department of the Met is separate. It's part of the Met, but still independent from the Met.
Right.
Because my, actually, I have a niece who is married to some curator and who had worked at the Met at some point. And I asked him, he said, well, I can try to find out, but, I did not work in that area, so it's totally different. So I remembered that Jacqueline Stewart, who was the director of the Academy Museum, the first director of the Academy Museum, when they presented Purple Rain, she did a Q&A with me and Jill before the screening. So I thought, well, and she had gone back to Chicago because she's a professor at the university there. So I thought somebody from one university might know somebody from another. So I contacted her and she said, yeah, I know.
Oh, perfect.
So she put me in touch and it was rectified. It took a while because it's a, like any institution, things don't happen. But so when I went there in June, it still did not have my name. But they were really lovely. They invited me to open the exhibition an hour earlier for me so that I would not have the crowd.
Wow.
And actually, they thought I was arriving the day before, which I was, but I was arriving at night. And the day before is the day they closed, and they would have opened the exhibition just for me. So I really got a great reception. They assistant curator to the exhibition, who is a Met, person, took me through, explained all the exhibition. It was actually fantastic. I had brought in so invited a friend from New York to come with me. And then towards the end of July, I think a friend of mine went to the exhibition and she took a picture where my name was there.
Amazing.
So they did. So I
they
feel
did
very
credit you.
proud to get the Met to change their
Change their signage. And
Yeah.
well, I think it's an important story because, not many artists can say that they've been able to work with in such a historical way, right? Where there's going to be exhibits after exhibits and books, published around someone that they help contribute to this, persona, this character, this celebrity, right? But I think you advocating for yourself is an important part of not just advocating for your art, but artists beyond, your lifetime, right? But I think what's also interesting is because you mentioned the lace, you're mentioning this legendary ruffled shirt, right? In so many ways, this film and his tour and the photo shoots that you're a part of, it really did shape an entire fashion industry around that time, but even to come, right? Like I'm wearing a lace shirt right now. You could argue, not that like you invented lace, but like what were the ways that it was styled and the looks and things like that people put together that they don't even think of where it's derived from. It's kind of like that scene from the first Devil Wears Prada movie, right? Where Meryl Streep is explaining to Anne Hathaway, like, you think that color just came from this store, but really it's from this artist, and this artist. And so I wanted to understand kind of what did you realize that's what you were doing when you saw the success of this film, but now how do you incorporate and evolve your own art from, you worked on these specific titles, and then how do you incorporate that in other artists that are like not Prince? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think every project is different. I mean, you learn something on every project,
Yeah.
but you don't transfer things from,
Right.
it's more the learning experience that you transfer than, because I would not use the same fabric, let's say, unless, it, was, the right thing to do. But
Right.
I mean, which actually was because I was so associated with Prince and the people around, because I worked with all the groups around him too at that time. When I stopped, because I wanted to keep going in cinema rather than music. So after Under the Cherry Moon, I felt, that it was time for me to go back to just cinema.
Gotcha.
And it was a really hard period for me to get a job in cinema, because everybody thought, I went to interviews and people would say, but we don't want to do Prince. I said, I don't want to do Prince again. I mean, that's what I've been doing. I'm not here. But like there was, people were really not eager, I think now, because it's so long ago,
Right.
It's fine. On the contrary, it's kind of exciting. Like the director that I work with lately will say to other people, oh, by the way, she did Purple Rain, something like that. But at the time, it was like, for 2 years, I had a really hard time transitioning.
And what were some of the feelings that you were going through during that time, that transition? Because I think every artist goes through a pivot, a big pivot, especially after they've reached some sort of milestone. How did you keep your inspiration and creativity alive? Or was it more on the business side that you felt like you were kind of just navigating, that it didn't really contribute to your process? You just needed that next conversation to keep you going?
I got so pissed off at some point. I just went back to France for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
or a year and a half or something, you know. It's just until somebody, because I did have an agent. I mean, somebody,
Right.
you know, took me in after I left Prince. I mean, and a big agency. I was in a big, but it never got me any work. Basically, like, they would send me to interviews, but yeah, like I said, nobody would take a chance. They all thought that I would put the action hero in a lace shirt or something. I don't know. I mean, they have no imagination. Like you see it for actors. They get pinpointed into something,
Yeah.
you know? And look at Pamela Anderson, how hard it has been for her to get away from Baywatch, you know? I mean, yeah, they put you in a little corner.
And
I mean,
it's so
you would think
hypocritical.
that in a creative business, they would have more imagination.
I agree. That's why it's completely hypocritical because like art is not something you can put in a box, but it's almost like it happened to you.
Yeah, I mean, to
Yeah.
me, it was like, so, and then some film, not anything fantastic. Yeah, some director called me from the States and said, can you know, or my agent called me and they said, they want you. I did not even have to interview. They just wanted me. I don't know why they want me because nobody else wanted. But anyway, so I came back and from then, you get to know people, on the crew and all that. Because when I worked with Prince, even when I did the film, I was like part of the Prince entourage in a way.
Right.
I was not taken. I mean, like when I did Under the Cherry Moon and went, to the south of France to do Under the Cherry Moon. So I hired a French crew, local crew, and the assistant costume designer that I hired told me later, wow, you prepared, what you're doing and all that. And I was like, what is she talking about? And she had been told by the production manager, or, she works with a musician, she must be high all the time. So you might have to do the work.
So it was just like rumors were spreading on set.
Yeah, and no foundation or anything. Just because I worked in music, it was not really serious like film, and it was like people would just get high or something. I don't know why they got that. That was the production manager. We came from Warner Brothers. No respect.
That's so frustrating because it's like
Yeah, it is frustrating.
it's the balance of displaying your art and displaying your vision, but then kind of all the semantics of rumors and like and just
each time it's like you have to prove. I mean, after that you start knowing more people, so it gets easier. But yeah, leaving the Prince organization was really a tough period after.
I'm sure. And so basically what I find so interesting too is you talked about that white scarf that with like young people, it's you need to almost create something that you said in a Billboard magazine interview. You said when you're creating for an artist with a young following, you have to make it simple enough for fans to recreate it themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
And where it's like sometimes I feel like if you're on set, you're creating this whole universe where you're not always thinking about the world beyond the film.
No. Yeah, that's very different.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's a different process in that sense because on a film, you respect the character itself. More, yeah, if you are doing a film where, there it was like about a musician. So
Right.
it worked also music wise and, it was associated with an album,
Right.
so you had to work with the both sides, of being like fan for musician,
Mm-hmm.
and then also make it like it works within a film,
And so when you were on these dynamics on set and things like that, was there ever a time that you were also working with the marketing department of these studios? Because like now with music and even some of like the biggest stars in the world, I feel like all I'm being sold as a young person myself is like a concert t-shirt. And it's not so much about this connection to the fashion that they're promoting. In some ways, it feels like more than ever there's the biggest disconnect between these music icons, which isn't inherently a bad thing, right? They're achieving something
Yeah.
so grand that it's completely hard to fathom for the regular person. But how do you see whether it's between marketing departments of studios or whoever, how do you see almost this bridge as like fashion is that bridge for the fans and like what you're designing for these stars?
Well, actually, it was very separate in
Mm-hmm.
at the time that I worked on Purple Rain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I worked with Prince and his, other band. I never had really any contact with marketing
You
or
never
anything.
did, yeah.
No, I mean, it was the T-shirts were somebody else, designed the T-shirts and all that.
Right, right. And do
So
you
nobody ever asked me what kind of put on the T-shirt or something. No.
would you like how would if you were giving me advice if I wanted to start dressing and drawing artistic inspiration from these artists, how would you encourage me to learn? I know that you said like when you were even just getting ready for the films, you cut from different magazines and things like
Yeah.
that. What is that creative process for you that's a regular person like me can take into their artistry?
Yeah, it's like doing a mood board, they
Uh-huh.
call it now,
Yes, yes.
But I might use, I mean, like for film,
Uh-huh.
because I've worked more in film now that I've worked in music,
Right.
That's more my, I mean, I ended up, because I wanted to work on film, to be in Purple, working on Purple Rain.
Yeah.
Um, I take inspiration from a lot of things, also from art, from paintings, and also reading, I think is really important. I mean, my background, I never went to learn about fashion, for example. That's
so
not my
inspiring.
background at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I went to art school, and I went also. I studied liberal art in sense of like literature, philosophy. Because for film, I think reading is very important. It starts with a script.
Right.
You don't start with the idea you're going to sell, the look of,
Of course.
unless, it is that kind of project,
Right.
Where you have more of a celebrity or something like that. Actually, when I did the film The Coneheads, which did not do what they were expecting in the end, but then the marketing approached me because they thought it would do much better, and so there was started a collaboration between me and like toys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it never went anywhere because the film did not do
Okay.
well, so it did not. But that was, at that time, and when you do also some of the things going for teenagers, then you might think of style more. So it depends also on the subject.
Right. That makes sense.
But for example, like I did a film with Tupac and Tim Ross called Gridlock,
Uh-huh.
but Tupac was not playing a rapper in it. He was playing a jazz musician. He was playing a real part as an actor.
Right.
And I got contacted by one of the clothing company associated with rap and all that. And they wanted to place their
Right.
product on Tupac. I told the person, I said, but he's not playing a rapper. I don't want, anything with logos or
Right.
anything like that. That's not his character. He's a jazz musician. We are not doing rap. I don't want any of your T-shirts or your, hoodies, all that. That's not the. And God, he kept calling me. I mean, really, I thought it was ridiculous. Like this big, mogul keep calling me to try to put some T-shirts on Tupac, you know. And at some point I said, okay, I will put it on another actor. Give me something that character can wear one of your T-shirts. Okay. So, but still no logos because that's a no-no on films usually. Unless you
Right.
have a, connection with a brand,
Right.
you don't put logos.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I said, so finally I found one T-shirt which had like a red pepper on it or something. I said, okay, I'll take that T-shirt for this actor. And I put it on the actor for a certain scene. And in that scene, the actor gets killed and you never see him from the front. And because he gets killed and he falls on his front, so you never see even the front of the T-shirt.
Oh my
So
gosh.
after all this,
All
that
that.
he bugged me so much about putting a T-shirt from his company on an actor in the film, you don't even see it. You just see a green back of a T-shirt. Could have been any green T-shirt from Target or.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Did
Yeah.
you realize that's how the edit was going to be cut, or you?
No, I did not know.
Right.
Because, no, they went front, back, different. No, I had no ideas. When I saw the film, I laughed,
That's so funny.
I
Yeah.
said, oh, great.
Well, because
it was
it's-
my revenge in a way
Yeah.
for being like bothered while I'm trying to prep something by this guy.
That's so funny, and it really feels like you focus on a vision and getting that executed to the way that you see the characters, are enhanced through your clothes.
Yeah, but, first I speak with a director.
Right.
That's the first thing, and then we align on a vision,
Right.
and then also the actor, because you want the actor to be comfortable.
Of
You
course.
might have had a vision with a director of something, and the actor, is somebody who would say, oh no, I can't wear that, I don't like this color, or da 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 da, and I feel that I have to send an actor who is comfortable in his clothes to do the acting.
Of course.
I mean, I don't want to send an actor to the director for a scene where the actor is like pulling on his clothes because, for example, she would be uncomfortable in a skirt too short or something.
Right.
No, you want them to respect the vision, but there's also different way to respect the vision.
Of course.
What's
the most common thing if actors are coming to you and saying that they're uncomfortable? What is that? Is it material? Is it a color?
Colors.
Oh, colors. Okay.
Colors and shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how does
And sometimes strange thing about their body. Somebody might not like their feet.
okay.
I don't know why, but sometimes you don't even see why. It's like to you, it's like nothing's horrible.
Right.
But okay, they don't like it. Fine, whatever.
Is there ever a time where a director is adamant on a certain color being present in for this character, and you have to kind of convince that actor to maybe come to some sort of reconciliation?
Usually there is a palette in a film, so I would say there's a little leeway.
Okay.
what I've noticed about directors, um, they kind of project themselves on the heroes of a film.
Interesting.
And I've noticed they like, I mean, it depends if it's appropriate, of course, for the film, but sometimes they kind of like their style to transfer to the hero.
Mm, that's interesting. And so, how do you navigate kind of these personalities that as you're designing?
Well, if people can get together on a common vision, it's pretty, you know, good. You know, it's helpful. The difficulty is when you have films, and it does happen, where the producer has a vision, the main actor has a vision, and the director has another one. And they don't communicate. And each one wants his vision to dominate. And it's like, really like pulling, and you go, I have told them actually, get together and get it, and just tell me what your vision is. I mean, I'm open to different vision, but I can't deal with like, you know.
Yeah, when people aren't talking.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I'm sure during
and
COVID it
it
was
does
very
not
difficult.
help the film in the end.
Right, right.
You know, it really doesn't help the film where, you know, when things, you know, go smoothly, I mean, yeah, the film gets much better.
Yeah, I believe it. And I love what you said too about how reading was a big part of not just your educational background, but also how it informs your creative process. What was like when you were younger and before moving to LA, how did you know that you wanted to dedicate your career to this work and this art form, costume design?
I did not know.
You didn't know. Well, when was the moment you did know?
I did not know. I had no clue whatsoever. It seems so foreign when you're not from that. You know, I guess if you grow up in LA, it's much more seem accessible. But even though I grew up in a big city, I grew up in Paris, cinema, I mean, was even seem more remote than theater,
Right.
you know? Fashion did not seem as remote either. You know, I mean, it seemed to me like, yeah, it was like a miracle what you see on the screen. And how do you get there? You know, it never even entered my mind.
So when you moved to LA, what brought you here initially? What type of pursuit?
The weather.
The weather. So you're like, I'm an artist. I know I'm going to a warm place, and that.
I lived in the Bay Area.
Okay.
I had separated from my husband, and I had moved from where we lived in Marin County, which had a lot of microclimates in the Bay Area.
Yes.
And I had moved from a better climate where we lived to San Francisco. I wanted to be in a bigger city than being more, you know, isolated. And God, 2 summers in San Francisco did it for me. I came to visit a friend in LA in the beginning of September. By the end of September, I had packed my stuff in San Francisco, left my boyfriend there, and moved and got an apartment in LA.
And then what was that first step to getting involved in design?
So when I moved to LA, I got a job representing fashion.
Okay.
You know, so different.
Different, yeah.
I always worked something to do with clothing. But, when I worked, like I had done in the Bay Area, the window dressing for BB.
Okay, yeah.
Which had different boutiques, you know. When I moved here, so I represented different fashion line for downtown, for, you know, company which had different fashion line.
Yeah.
Which I was not all that.
It was not.
Yeah. And then I went to France because my father died from a heart attack suddenly. And when I came back, a friend of mine from the Bay Area had moved down, and she had started working on independent film, even in the Bay Area, or videos and things like that. And she got a job, and she said, I need an assistant. Would you like to do it? And I said, yeah, I was not working. So, I mean, I said, oh, yeah, great, And I said, that's it. I found it. Because usually when I've started something like, the windows or representing the fashion line, at first I was excited. And after I figured out it worked,
Right.
I get bored.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's a
And
lot.
this is the one thing. If you get bored easily, in a way, by routine, the country of then working at the post office, really, basically.
Uh-huh.
Every project is new, so you can never get bored.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think all artists need that constant inspiration.
Right.
And sometimes you have to build that in because some artists do work boring jobs and then they have to go seek that inspiration until they're able to do projects like what you've worked on. But it's one of those things where it's almost like a generator lighting up effect.
Yeah.
And I feel that heavily where it's like if that boredom creeps in, it's such a darkness to the creative process. So what can you do, or what can you find, or which friends and communities can you be a part of to find that inspiration again? Looking back on your entire career, what are you most proud of how you've changed as an artist, and how are you still changing as an artist?
Well, I don't know. I'm like pretty happy about what has happened,
Yes.
And I mean, now, I mean, like, I'm much older, so I'm really happy that my career happened at the time when there was a lot more opportunities, I think. I think it's a lot harder because it's that right now we are at a time of new, things with the AI and also of consolidations of studios. I mean, it's kind of appalling when you see people making at the top of the studio structure, making like millions and millions. And then at the same time, on one article, you see they've made, $70 million for the year. And then the next article you read, they have cut 2,000 jobs.
Yeah.
It kind of, piss you off.
And I'm sure you've seen all the changes too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel, for the younger generation, I feel the most of my career is in the past at this point. I don't have to be, I mean, it would be kind of illusion for me to think the other way around. So, I mean, I really feel for the young generation getting into it. I think it's a much harder. Might be a great thing coming, but it's just at this frontier in between.
Right.
And that's, I think, being in between is a more uncomfortable situation,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel it too. Like ever since I've moved here, it feels like I've lived in this city of a great in between. I've seen a lot of people who've spent decades here, working here, all of a sudden pick up and leave and go to somewhere in the middle of America. And it's interesting because I haven't been here. I've been here 4 years. It's not very long, but I think where I just look for my inspiration and the way I've grown as an artist is to people like you. And because I think what still is applicable are some of the lessons that you've even shared with us today around your process, right? And I think that's an important part despite how industries change. Now, the way that we get to execute our visions are going to constantly be changing.
But it still will happen.
Right.
Things still, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, you come, I mean, they said since, the time that writing started, people have thought, oh, we are losing something. Yeah, writing started, and people did not have their memory as much as when you had an oral culture. You know, so I mean, going back, thousands of years, you always are, looking, oh, wow, we've lost this. I mean, television came and, it was like the disaster for the cinema. No, cinema's continued, and I think it will continue.
Right.
You know, I do, I'm in the academy and I volunteer every year to be part of the committee which nominates the foreign language film, which I call international film now. And there are better and better films coming from all over the world,
For sure.
from young people
Right.
making film in, all the countries in Africa sending amazing film. So, if film was dead, why would they continue making films?
Right. Right.
India has an
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
industry, and not just Bollywood, because there's some in Chennai, there's some in Kerala, like all over the world there are,
Yeah.
Even people who are at war manage, like Ukraine has sent amazing films, and they're at war, so obviously there's a desire of creation,
Well, it's necessary
you know,
anywhere you go.
that
Yep.
still exists.
Yep.
I think, the problem is, some of the aspect of business has taken over the art a lot, also, it's like it has become more of a bottom line thing.
Yes.
And I think if we could, change that, and I think, the fact to get governments to help is, like France has still a very strong, industry, film industry, but there's a lot of, not directly from the government, but they are put in place rules which help cinema. When you go to see a film in France, part of the ticket you pay, for a film goes into a fund to help,
That's very interesting.
you know?
Right, because our movie tickets here are not going towards any of that.
No.
Yeah, it's funding Jeff Bezos.
So it really helps,
Yeah.
I mean, in this past year, in the international film, a huge percentage, I mean, for one country, where France was involved in co-producing, like, I can't remember exactly the percentage, but maybe like 40% of the film which were in the international category, or 30, but, compared to being, just one country,
Right.
the percentage they were in, being into producing, because co-producing of in different countries is huge now.
Right.
You
right.
have to get co-producers from all kinds of countries.
I mean, we always see it in all of the credits at the end of the movies
right, exactly.
that we go
Yeah,
to, like on
yeah,
Sundays, is like
yeah.
you see all the co-producers. And then actually the film that we saw yesterday,
Yeah.
you know what I noticed? I forgot to tell you this. So we went to see Tuner yesterday for
Right.
all the people that are listening, and you should absolutely see it. It was wonderful. I can't stop thinking about it. But at the end, one of the family members that helped fund the film, her name was Ruthie. And I was like, did they put up so much money that the love interest in that movie
Yeah.
was named Ruthie? Probably. That stuff happens all of the time. But you wouldn't know that until you looked at the end of the credits.
Yeah.
That's a little different from what you're talking about exactly, but it was just, there's so many ways to get films made and get films financed and piece it all together that goes into this creative execution as well in some ways, whether what I said is true or not. But it is, what you said is like, we're seeing cinema and the ability to make these creations expand globally in a way that we maybe haven't seen before. Because work is moving out of LA.
And I think that also seeing creative people like actors, having their own production company or becoming producer. Last night I saw another film, which I really, really liked, called Is God Is.
Okay.
Mostly African American. I really like it. It's a very strange horror film based on a play which I did not know. And actually, but I noticed in the producing credit, Tessa Thompson is producing.
Okay.
So I like to see compared, because the big studios don't seem to be that interested in doing interesting film a lot. I mean, they want to do another sequel or whatever. But I see a lot of young talents seem to be interested in producing, which I think is great. And interesting, unusual point of view.
Yeah.
I recommend it actually.
Okay.
Is God Is.
I will. I'll have to check it out the next time.
I mean, it's really interesting.
But remember, I'm scared of all horror, and so it's like I couldn't handle the substance. Like when we went, I know you were like laughing, and you thought I was sitting there like covering my eyes most of the movie. I appreciated it from an artistic standpoint and a script standpoint, but I am scared of everything.
Did you see Weapons last year?
No, I don't think so. No,
okay, because there's this new type of horror which is like also comedy.
But I have trouble thinking things are funny. So especially when there's violence. So I still think I am not the target demographic for those films, but I'm trying to give more of them a chance just to understand them. But thank you, Marie, for joining Sparkle On. For everyone listening, Marie is also just published in a new interview with Duke Press. It's called Black Star Rising and Purple Rain, The Sonic Afterlives of David Bowie and Prince. So you can order that on Duke Press's website, and you should definitely read the interview. Chapter 18 is entirely dedicated to your interview. Yeah. Yes. So if you want to hear more about Marie's creative process, check it out there. Thank you so much. Sparkle On.
Sparkle